Get ready to embark on an economic journey as we unveil the heartbeats of the Rwandan business landscape. This is the Business Age, your front row seat to the economic renaissance of the land of 1,000 hills. Join us as we traverse the bustling markets of Kigali, delve into the success stories of Rwandan entrepreneurs, and explore the dynamic forces shaping the nation's economy. From the boardrooms to the street vendors, we'll bring you the voices of the visionaries and the minds behind Rwanda's economic evolution. Discover the fusion of tradition and technology, witness the agricultural innovations transforming rural communities, and explore the cutting-edge innovations propelling Rwanda into a new era of economic prosperity. From the city lights to the rural landscapes, every business is a story waiting to be told. Hello there. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Business Age. You'll be with me, Naringwa Fiona Mothoni. Energy demand across the African continent has been increasing at a rate of 3% annually. Now, this is the highest rate when you compare to other continents around the world. On today's episode, we'll look at some of the challenges within the energy sector. We'll look at some of the opportunities and what different countries are doing in order to find solutions to some of the most pressing challenges.
The energy is the driver of the economy. When you look at the energy consumption rate per year, it correlates exactly with the GDP of any country, meaning that the energy is a key contributor to the economic development of any country. So meaning that when there is energy, it is easy to attract investors, and it is easy to make a business. Small scale industries, you can promote them when you have enough power, enough energy. So it is our expectation that as we grow in terms of energy, resources, and generation capacity, it will help population to create jobs, to have small-scale industries, and to boost their economy.
I don't think anybody needs to be an expert to know that, when you turn off the lights in your house, the value that electricity provides for a home or business or for an industry or for any form of activity. So the power sector is very, very critical for economic development. If you're looking to grow any sector, you require power, whether it's agriculture, whether it's mining, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's, whatever, construction, anything, you need electricity, you need power. And right now, one of the biggest challenges that Africa has, Africa is home to over 1.4 billion people, and 600 million, which is 43% of that population, does not have access to reliable, sustainable, affordable, and accessible power. You still have some rural communities that are not connected to the grid. Some communities haven't even seen power in their lives. So how can you grow an economy by improving the quality of, power or energy across that community, making it affordable and accessible for the regular guy on the streets to be able to afford as well is very critical for any economy.
When you look at energy access in Rwanda, where are we? What are the current numbers?
So for the energy access, we are at the 80%, 57% on a grid and 23% off grid. We can compare these figures with the figures we had in 30 years ago. That 30 years ago, access to electricity was around 1%, maybe between 1% and 3%. In 2010, access to electricity was 10%. So to show you that in the past 30 years, the Rwandan government has invested a lot of money in order to have access to electricity for the population. To achieve 100% or universal access, we believe that it will not take much time that it was in the past. Because in the past we had to construct transmission lines to extend medium voltage lines up to sector level, up to cell level. So we think that with the infrastructure that we have laid out throughout the country, within a few years we can reach universal access to electricity.
And also just talk to us when you're looking at renewable energy. Where are we? You said about 20% is from solar energy. Just do talk to us, give us a breakdown of renewable energy, what can be done for the country to tap into these opportunities.
So for renewable energy, current in our energy mix, it contributes like 52%. But the target is that by 2030, the renewable energy would contribute 60% in our energy mix.
What are some of the hindrances? Just looking at the renewable energy space in itself, is it financing? What are some of the hindrances and what could be done in order to overcome these challenges?
So challenges we have with renewable energy resources or energy resources in general is that they require huge financial resources that we have to mobilize through development partners, through the national treasury. So that is one of the challenges. Another challenge is that it requires experts, engineers, and different consultants, the capacity that sometimes we need from outside. So challenges are there, but also we have the commitment to bridge this gap, because renewable energies, they are somehow to contributing to mitigate climate change issues.
You said investment financing is one of the main challenges. When you're looking at investors coming into Rwanda within the energy space, what trends are we seeing? What are the specific areas they are mostly interested in? And what are also some of the challenges that maybe investors might face within the energy space?
Most of investors are in generation. We have independent power producers. Other investors are in off-grid with the solar home systems. So the main challenge is to mobilize funds, to have those financial resources. And another challenge is that it takes time mobilizing funds, conducting studies, implementation of the project without forgetting the procurement process. So those are some of the challenges that we face within this energy sector. The policy framework is conducive, and the policy, it is aligned with the other policies There are policies related to investments. There are other policies that has to interconnect with the energy policy. And what I would say is that the energy policy is under review. The policy is dynamic. When you look at technologies are changing. So as technologies change, we have also to change our policy. The policy, the law, they are all under review. As you have asked the question, in order to meet the current trend, the current condition, the current environment, we have to update our policy.
What are some of the projects that are currently underway within the energy space?
We have projects in transmission lines. We have projects in generation, like the project of Rusumo hydropower plant of 80 megawatts. It is under commissioning. It will be inaugurated very soon. There is another generation project in Nyabarongotu of 43.5 megawatts. It is under construction. We expect that it can be commissioned in 2026, 2027. There is another big project of Rusizi 3, which is a regional project that we involve Burundi, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. That project is under the discussions. It is under financial mobilization. So there are different projects, even in access to electricity. There are different projects in different districts, and we have also other projects under studies.
Looking at the energy space in itself, what are some of the gaps that we're still seeing within the sector, and what are some of the key conversations do we expect to be happening to be addressing those gaps?
Oh, so that's a beautiful question that you're asking. When we speak to a lot of our stakeholders, financing is very, very key. Everybody's involved in the power sector from a financing point of view, and one of the things we're going to be looking at is how this finance can be accessed by our project owners, because the same way that it is hard for project owners to find investors, that's exactly how hard for investors to find bankable projects. So we will be showcasing. We have regional spotlights. We have most country spotlights. We have East African spotlights. We have West African spotlights. We have Southern African spotlights at the event where stakeholders from those regional countries can showcase opportunities to a lineup of investors that are coming around to meet with potential business.
When you're speaking to different investors, what trends are we seeing in investments? Where are we seeing the money going within the energy space?
Renewables. Everybody's switching. So most countries have got their own source of generating technologies. Like most of the West African countries are using gas. Kenya, I think 3 countries in Africa have achieved the highest electrification rates. Those are Ghana, Kenya, and Rwanda. So, these countries will be showcasing their best practices to other countries. There's a lot to learn from Rwanda. Rwanda is doing amazing. 1 billion being put into achieving the rest of the electrification rates in the region. So, I'm sure that, a lot of countries in Africa are pushing that as well. South Africa in recent years passed the bill for IPPs to be able to generate, their own power, which is boost a lot of renewable energy projects. In Nigeria, there's also the electrification bill that was passed by the federal government that allows generation companies that allow states to generate, distribute, and transmit their own power. This will unlock a lot of investment opportunities for potential investors. And in Nigeria, for example, there's another bill that was passed where tariffs are being increased. You know, tariff being increased would attract a lot of foreign investment, because if you want to invite people to come and participate in your sector, there's got to be, you know, enabling environment. They need to know that actually what they're investing on will generate money back for them, as, you know, return on investment. So before anybody can put money down, there's got to be a way that's going to see the graphs of where the money is going to come from, how the money is going to be generated. And with these initiatives that most African countries or African governments are passing, they will be unlocking, you know, a lot of initiatives that will be attracting investors. But then, how can they communicate these initiatives to these investors if they don't have the right platform to do so? That's where we come in. We provide the right platform for them to engage with the relevant interested stakeholders.
You can't talk about investment without talking about risk. Just to talk to us about the risks within the energy space.
Some of the risk, I think, if you look at Africa as a whole, there's always been the fear of what ifs. You know, there's high risk, high reward in most markets in Africa, because Africa is still a virgin market. Again, 600 million people don't have access to energy. I think, for me, to be honest, I think the opportunities outweighs the risks in the market. I think that yes, there are potential risks because it's a market that they're not known to know, they're not used to, but the opportunities definitely outweighs those risks. I mean, if you don't get in, you never know. Risks are meant to be taken. If you don't take the risk, you never know whether you're gonna make the money. So high risk, high reward. Yes, the African market is very volatile, but at the same time, it is a frontier market. A lot of people tell us from the Middle East that, you know, projects in the Middle East are saturated. Projects in Europe are saturated. Where are the projects now? Africa. You know, and that is where a lot of people are putting the people that are getting in, the first set of people that are getting in, putting their money behind it, are those people that are going to walk away with a potential investment. The Chinese are very good at taking risk. The Indians are taking risk, and they are the biggest players in investment in the power sector in Africa, and they are the ones that are benefiting from it. So it's open. It's open to everybody to play. I think that, you know, I would rather focus on playing in the market first than staying out to see. Either ways, right now, everybody wants to be a part of Africa. If it's not interesting, they won't be wanting to be a part of it. So there's got to be something that is working. Regarding the risk, I'm not an energy expert to tell you about the risk, but I know that, you know, we got a lot of people knocking on the door asking for those opportunities in Africa, and we're just the platform for those individuals to reach out.
High risk, high reward. I like that. Just even looking at some of the opportunities there, you say the renewable energy, that's the current gold when you're looking within the energy sector. Kenya, solar, hydro, taking lead. So when you look at the potential that lies within the African continent, what role do you see Africa playing in the global energy transition?
I mean, look, again, Africa is a home to 1.4 billion people. Africa's GDP, if you put it together, is almost as together as almost the same number compared to India, you know, and this is without power. You know, imagine if Africa had that you know, amount of power to power its economies to the level that it should be at. I think that if you look at Nigeria, for example, Nigeria is 200 million people, only operating on between 3,000 to 5,000 megawatts since 1960, since they got independence. If Nigeria can still be the largest economy in Africa without power, imagine what they could do with power. So the same thing happened to the rest of Africa. I think, you know, education requires power. A lot of sectors is dependent on power. And I believe that, you know, when the issue of power is being addressed, it will help, you know, address the issue of urbanization and what have you, that is affecting a lot of markets in Africa right now. And I think that our events will support in building capacity, helping build capacity building, help to address the problem of employment, look to help to address the issue of also insecurity as well. Where there's no power, obviously people are doing all kind of stuff, but if this power helps, with cameras and everything, there's a lot of role that power plays in empowering a nation. And we're happy to be a part of, lighting up Africa, as we go along.
The energy sector is investment intensive, if we may say so. And when you speak about investors, someone might feel like, oh, okay, it requires huge players to come in. But what about entrepreneurs? What about startups? What role can they play?
Oh, massive. I used to say to people that, the startup, the entrepreneurs will be the game changers for Africa. Because Africa has been so reliant on, it has to be government, it has to be government, it has to be government. But innovations, technology is going to come to a certain, this is my belief. I believe that one day somebody's going to just do something and, it powers a home. And that's why solar home systems are selling so much now in Africa. Because people are, people that are not connected to the grid, they can just, power the community, they power their homes with the technology, with the, battery technology that can just power their electricity, their TV, and their fan, or cooking stove, just so they don't use coal to make food, whatever. The role that startups are going to play in Africa is massive. That's why you have the biggest startup countries is Kenya, Nigeria, and so to name but a few. That's why at this event we're looking at the Entrepreneur Forum. Entrepreneur Forum is to support all the startup companies that are looking to build technologies and solutions. In Nigeria, we've launched something called Energy X, which is an entrepreneur competition where innovators can come and showcase technologies that they've done. Where we're going to have 3 finalists come up. In Rwanda, we're going to focus on something called Entrepreneur Forum, where entrepreneurs can meet mentors, that will build them and support their dreams and vision. Into achieving, certain KPIs that they've set forth. And we're here to support that as well, because Informa Markets is very, very keen in supporting, startups like that. So, yeah.
Energy demand in Africa has been increasing at 3% annually, and looking across the world, this is one of the highest rates. So how urgent is it for us to refocus our attention on the energy space?
It is very, very paramount. And I think I got to give kudos to some African government already who are making policies and laws to remove the bottlenecks from building capacity in the energy space. I mentioned about the electricity bill in Nigeria, for example, and the renewable energy bill that allows IPPs to generate their own electricity in South Africa, which is really, really impacted on the IPP sector in South Africa. And I believe that the demand in energy is not going to stop, and that's why we need to be a step ahead in ensuring that we increase our electrification rates. I think Rwanda is doing great in that market, in that aspect, and I think there's a lot to learn from Rwanda on how they've been able to increase capacity. And meet the demand, meet the quota or the target set in terms of electrification for the market. And I think there's a lot for other African countries to learn from Kenya as well, and from Ghana and Rwanda. So we just need to be a step ahead in building those capacities, investing in other technologies. Africa's got enormous potentials for solar. Now, the solar technology has become very cheap now compared to 10 years ago. I see there's a lot of hybrid solutions that are being put in place by a lot of projects that are happening in Africa, and we just need to make sure that that investment into those infrastructures are continuing on regular basis, and corruption around those are reduced to the barest minimum.
The role of collaboration, role of partnership, how crucial is it? Also, interagency collaboration, inter-country collaboration.
Very, 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 very important. Africa needs to trade with itself. And Africa needs to learn from itself. Africa needs to stop believing that they need to run to Europe and America and all these places to get help. Help is going to come when we are able to align on objectives as Africans, first of all. What do we as Africans want for ourselves? When we are able to answer that questions, then we can be able to stand, unified to make demands of what we want. But right now, I think we're divided across, a lot of factors, borders and a whole lot of ethnic and religious, divide. Whereas we need to come together, identify opportunities that we want to focus on, and then from these partnerships. With us, we are very, very big on partnerships. We know that it is important for us to have the right kind of partnership for these events to happen.
You mentioned capacity building with skill set within the energy space. How much of a gap are we seeing there?
So I don't have a number to the gap, but the gap is massive. I think the biggest challenge in Africa right now is training. If you look at some of the utilities in Africa, the gap between the older generation and the younger generation and transfer of skills is quite low. And we believe that, we need to impact on a lot of, engineers in Africa. We need to build knowledge in that area. We need to bring more trainings, technology and solutions that would help countries, third world nations be working in its optimal. And how can that happen? It's through, a lot of trainings, a lot of capacity building, a lot of investment into education, right from the ground up to the senior level. And I think there's no time we need to stop learning and building this knowledge across all verticals, not even just energy, but across all verticals.
There, you've had it. Energy is the cornerstone of economic growth here in Africa. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. You are with me, Narengwa Fiona Mothoni.